Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mowd. We're glad that so many of you have been able to join us this morning for what is going to be 45 minutes of education on lawn care and hopefully give you all the info and the confidence you need to get your own lawn renovations done this spring. Not quite yet. I know this morning, certainly where we are in Worcestershire, the sun is beating down. It's a beautiful morning, but it is still frightfully cold, and cold, as we will learn today, is not the friend of nice lawns. So we're going to move into now to looking at this 45 minutes. We've broken it down into 7 sections, a chronological journey through what you need to do for the perfect lawn renovation. So thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you got a cup of coffee. Few things that we want to point out. Don't worry, your mics aren't on, your cameras aren't on. There's nothing you can do or say that will put you in any kind of position. So don't worry about that. We do have a Q&A. If you look at the top of your screen, depending on if you're on a PC or a phone, we've got Q&A. If you pop a question in there, that'll go through to Dan, who you can see also on tonight. Dan is going to be answering a lot of those Q&As, or he'll bring some of the really good questions up. So we'll do some live Q&A as we go. You'll see all of your emojis as well at the top of the screen, the smiley faces, thumbs up, the thumbs down. Let me know what you think about what I'm saying and the advice that I'm giving. If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, give us a thumbs up. But most importantly, we've also got some polls as well. We're going to be asking you about your lawn, about your experiences, and about what you need to know. The more you engage, that's really going to focus your attention on the areas of this presentation that you want to get out of it. So first of all, I'm sure you're wondering who the hell are Mowd. A lot of you already know who we are. We've had lots of interactions with you at places like the RHS Malvern Spring Show last year, and a lot of you have seen us on YouTube and TikTok, etc. But for those of you who are new to Mowd, welcome. We are a company that is designed for those of you who want a DIY lawn. You take pride in doing it yourself, and you want to do it yourself, and we just make it a little bit easier so you get all the products at the right time. The right seasonal fertilizer, we send it to you just when you need it in exactly the right amount, and that ensures that there is zero waste. It's a really straightforward way to ensure you've got a solid lawn all year round. We don't just send the products. As you can all see today, we've got industry leading support, not just the webinars that we put out, but we've got live support on our website, and we've got all the social media channels with blogs, YouTube, TikTok. So there's really is no other company out there that provides as much direct support for our customers as us. So I'm Rich, I'm the one in the cap over there. This is us at the Malvern Three Counties show last year. I deal with product development, I deal with sports turf, and I deal with all the home turf. I'm also the one that gets put in front of the camera all the time for YouTube and TikTok. Dan, you'll see here without the cap on, Dan deals with our web and technical integrations. He's focused on customer experience. Not many other lawn care companies have someone dedicated just to the experience of the customer. We do, because that is the most important thing as far as we're concerned. And actually, Dan is currently building an app at the moment, a lawn care app for Mowd, which is I've seen a few people. It's absolutely amazing. So, you know, keep in touch with us. We'll be launching that hopefully near the summertime. So contents then, there are 7 stages to a lawn renovation, and these stages, they really don't change. It doesn't matter if your lawn is huge or small, the process is exactly the same. And the one that everybody always forgets is preparation of materials. So you need to order the right tools, you need to order the right materials to go down. But the good news is you can start that now. You don't have to wait until the morning and go through that mad scramble of wondering if you've got everything you need. We'll be looking at scarifying, again, quite a common principle, but there's a few misnomers we're going to cover today. We're going to look at aerating, how to fertilize your new lawn, specifically for new lawn and renovations, how to seed and what to seed with, and also then about top dressing, which is a stage that a lot of people omit, but actually is one of the key ingredients. And then, of course, there's no point in doing all of this work if you just leave it at the end. Your lawn will go back to the state that it is currently in, and you need to have a good aftercare program. So first of all, what is a lawn renovation? It's not about building patios and pergolas. That's not our area of expertise. It is a series of processes that remove thatch and moss, it relieves compaction, and it sows new grass into your lawn to really rejuvenate it. New grass has a much better colour, it has more vigour, and it has a much better density than your old wooden stemmed grass. It usually consists of a minimum of a scarify and a seed, but the more steps that you take, the better your lawn will look. That doesn't mean you have to do a lawn renovation every single year. I tend to do mine every 2 years, mainly because I have such a good feeding program over the year that my lawn stands up really well to winter time, which is the biggest stress. You do perform them in spring or autumn. Now, this is really quite important. If you do a lawn renovation in the summer, you tend to have not enough water, not enough rain, hosepipe bans come into effect, and if you can't keep your new seed and your new lawn wet, you're completely wasting all the money and all of the effort that you've put in. I've tended to do mine in the autumn. I think that's mine and Dan's background of being cricket groundsman and end of season renovations. But actually, the home care market, I think it's easier in the spring because the ground is generally softer and we're able to get down into a moister soil, which gives you a better head start. But the option is absolutely yours. And it will take about 6 weeks from renovation to your lawn looking superb. So time it well. If you've got a barbecue, a 40th, 50th birthday, you've got a big event you're planning for, that's what you want to time your lawn renovation around. So the first step then is the preparation. You're going to think, oh God, how much prep needs to go into a lawn renovation? Not a terrible amount, but it is really important that before you start your lawn renovation, you actually look at what your challenges are. Not every lawn is different. There are pretty much broad spectrums we can put you all into, which makes the process really simple. But you do need to be aware of these elements. Just have a think next time you're out in your lawn. Can you see any signs of disease? Now, stress causes susceptibility to disease, and stress we've had recently, the autumn and the winter that we've just had has been so mild, it's been so damp, that has really raised the stress pressure on the lawns. And certainly a lot of our sports customers have had some really terrible fusarium throughout the early springtime. So it's really important you get around your lawn. You don't have to be a disease expert. If you look at your grass and something doesn't look right, it's miscoloured, it's misshaped, it's bare, generally there is an issue. If you think there's an issue, grab hold of Mowd and we'll help you figure out what that is. Frosts and droughts, that your lawn being underfed, your lawn being overfed, poor mowing habits or poorly maintained lawnmower even are all contributing factors to a lawn that is prone to disease. Potassium is one of the nutrients in fertilizers, one of our favorite nutrients. Actually, you'll see it in quite high levels in a lot of our feeds. It's key because it actually provides a bit of disease resistance to your lawn. Common diseases you might see, red thread, exactly as it says, really thin red strands, and that is generally through nitrogen deficiencies. You haven't fed your lawn generally, and then fusarium is like I just explained, that really mild and meek weather coupled with general poor maintenance of the lawn. Fungicides, oh my lord, they're so expensive. I just don't recommend them for the home market anyway. I think you can be much more sustainable in your approach if you don't use fungicides. With disease, prevention is far better than the cure every single time. Moss. Now, I reckon 90% of you will have moss in your lawns. And again, because of the because of the wet winter that we've had, moss really likes compacted soil and it likes poorly drained soil. A lot of people will go and get their chemical treatments out, either liquid or granular iron sulfate, as is called iron sword. It's a granular product. And they spread it or spray it out and it turns the moss black. You must be prepared for that. But that's only the first step. You then need to follow up with the mechanical treatment, which is scarifying or raking that moss up. Common mistakes when people treat moss is they use the chemical treatment, but then they don't actually address the core issue, which is most of the time aeration. So if you don't aerate the soil and decompact it, you guarantee that moss will be back next year. And moss also takes nitrogen from the air, so it can survive really well in poor soil where your grass really struggles. Football, it's inevitable. It happens in all of our lawns, whether that's the kids playing football and creating their own little goal mouths, whether that's parties or just the entrance from paths onto your lawn. You will get compaction and footfall, even if it's the dogs running around the garden. Compaction really inhibits root development, which is essential for good lawn, and it can also impact your drainage. If you compact the soil, you squeeze all the oxygen, the air out of it, all the microbes down in the soil completing their reactions without oxygen, so you're going to get anaerobic reaction. That creates a horrible gas called hydrogen sulfide, also known as sewer gas, which is actually toxic. So it's going to really inhibit the growth. So we need to aerate to allow oxygen to get down into the soil. Good grass is all about healthy soil. Pests as well, or if you've got leather jackets or chafers, that is a battle, not one that can't be won, but you really need a solid plan. We're going to do a webinar a little later in the year about leather jackets and chafers, because they can be massively destructive. And if you don't tackle them before your lawn reno, guess what? You'll be back in the same position in 6 months' time. So it's really essential. They're particularly destructive to new grass with shallow roots. They cause bare patches, allowing other issues to materialize like weeds and moss. You can treat with nematodes. If you've got a really serious infestation, you'll need multiple treatments. But if you identify, if you're out in your lawn and you see rapid changes in your lawn, you see birds pecking at the soil, it's easy to pull up the grass, or if you see daddy longlegs in the autumn, then you likely have leather jackets if it's daddy longlegs, or chafer grub. So do keep an eye on that. Dry spot, summer's getting hotter, they're getting longer, and when we have prolonged dry periods, we get grass that loses its colour, loses its vigour, and weeds can then start to dominate, because some weeds like dandelions have tap roots which go really deep, and they can get to the damper soil that the grass can't access. You then also get this hydrophobic layer over the top of the soil, which means even when it rains or even when you water it, it doesn't soak in, it just runs off of the top. The way to prevent dry spot is with regular watering, a good watering program, and use of wetting agents. We're one of the only, I think, I'd stand to be corrected, but one of the only lawn care subscription companies who offer a wetting agent as part of our advanced plan as well to help prevent dry spot. Weeds, we've spoken a little bit about weeds. There are so many different weeds, and they germinate at different types of year, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses. The best way to keep weeds out of your lawn is to have a really dense lawn, one that's mowed regularly, one that's mowed at the right height, and one that is aerated well, so you've got a good root structure. By far the best effective way to remove weeds is by hand, either cutting them out or using a fork. But you can also use weed and feed in May time, not really before. The soil needs to be warm enough for that weed to be actively growing, for you to actually kill the weeds. So don't seed too close to a weed treatment either side of it. Give it about 6 weeks either side before you start your lawn renovation, and always have a liquid spot treatment to hand. Just when you see one, you can treat it. Shaded areas where the sun doesn't get, that's fairly self-explanatory. Shaded areas, the grass won't grow, so you're going to have to regularly overseed those areas. That's where your lawn renovation comes in. If it's really, really shaded, just think of an alternative use, a patio, maybe a flower bed or something like that. But grass will always struggle if it's in a permanently shaded area. And waterlogging, finally. Boggy guy, we're talking about lawns that are wet for most of the winter. Not a bit of standing water after heavy rain, that's fairly normal. But usually this is because of compacted soils. The only thing you need to do here is to aerate. And if it's really, really bad, aerate and then infill those holes with sand, which will help drainage. And we'll be looking at that later. And also level your lawn so that you don't have those dips where the water can accumulate. So for products that you're going to need before you start your lawn renovation: seed, soil, and fertilizer. It's that simple. In terms of grass seed, you need to buy enough to cover your lawn area. If you're overseeding your lawn, you already have established grass, you need to go in at around about 35 grams per square metre. Before you all go grabbing your calculators, I can tell you now that's about 1 kilo per 30 square metres. Quite a simple calculation. If you're going for a new lawn, then you're going to be looking at 50 grams per square metre, which is about 1 kilo per 20 metres squared. We're going to come back to those numbers regularly today, so don't worry about that. And also our website calculates that for you when you've measured your lawn. So just numbers to remember. Use new grass seed. Don't use last year's or the years before. The germination rate will deteriorate. And then don't go cheap as well. It is a false economy. Companies that cultivate their own seeds, they spend a lot of money getting it just right, which is why you'll find some seeds which are more expensive than others. In terms of topsoil, you've got 3 basic choices: compost, sand and soil mixes, root zone ideally, and just sand, and each has a different benefit. You can order them in bulk bags or 25 kilo bags depending on what you want, but we are going to look at that again, the specific materials, which ones you're going to need for your specific situation, a little later. And then of course the fertilizers. Using a fertilizer that is high in phosphorus. Don't use a slow release fertilizer. We want all that phosphorus in the soil and into the roots and into the plant. But then consider your nutrition post renovation and for the rest of the year. Don't know about you, if I eat a big breakfast in the morning, I'm still going to be hungry at night time. Your grass is no different. It needs continually feeding. Also, use of biostimulants. Sea of Green seaweed meal is a brilliant one if you have a heavy clay-based soil. It can aerate that soil. If you have a sandy soil, it can help retain moisture. There really is no downside to Sea of Green seaweed meal, which again comes out with us in our advanced plan. So, seed, soil, fertilizer. In terms of tools, a very quick overview of the tools you might need. Quite often, I think people are put off from lawn renovations because they think they've got to order a truck full of tools. There have been so many great tools developed for the home market now, especially in the scarifier area. But if we start with the mower, if you're lucky enough, you've got a cylinder mower and you've got a rotary mower tucked away in the garage. Rotary mower for lawn renovation, by far the best. You can use it to help collect up thatch, etc. By far the best for a lawn renovation. For year-round mowing, you can't beat a cylinder mower. If you only can have one, I would suggest the rotary. If you want stripes, make sure there's a roller on the back of it. And if you're really lucky, you get yourself a little ride on and you march up and down cutting the lawn with that. I'm not so. Scarify then, this is where the biggest developments have been. You can see this Cobra Scarifier, battery powered Scarifier, brilliant for the home market. It means that you can use it all year round. You don't only have to use it once a year when you do your lawn renovation. That's Cobra's petrol one. That's coming in about £450, a really robust machine. Or if you choose to hire, you can get something like this Cayman. That's from your hire shop. It's going to be about £80 a day, depending on where you hire it from. That's a hell of a beast, and I'd recommend that if you just move somewhere and they've got a really thatchy lawn or you really want to go heavy, definitely the Cayman. But those other options for home market, absolutely brilliant. Aerator is probably the one where you need to go to the hire shop for a lawn of any decent size. That's a big heavy machine that will punch tines down into the soil, and actually one of the key tools for this lawn renovation. It's what's going to create the plant pots that we're going to put all the seed, fertilizer and soil into. Highly recommend hiring one of those. If you've got a small lawn though, I've done a lawn renovation with a manual tine aerator before. You basically just step on the top of it and away you go. It's really great. It's just a bit more hard work. In terms of spreading, hand spreaders, brilliant for seed, brilliant for fertilizer, variable flow rates. You wind the handle and it sprays away. Hopper, 2 to 3 kilos in the hopper. And if you're going to do it 2 or 3 times, that's a brilliant choice for lawns of around about 200 square meters. You need to put a bit more. This is the bucket spreader. You can fit 15 kilos in there. That will allow you to cast over a much broader area. Drop spreaders for seed and for topsoil, absolutely fine. We don't recommend them for fertiliser. The analogy I'll give, it's like colouring in an A4 piece of paper with a biro or colouring it in with a paintbrush. The biro, it's very hard to get an even coverage, and that's what you're doing with a drop spreader. Leveling the lawn afterwards, you've got a lawn leveling lute there and a drag mat. Drag mats, you can go and find them at your local bowls clubs, at your local cricket clubs. I guarantee they've got one tucked away. And if you offer them a tenner to borrow it, I'm sure they won't mind at all. The lawn leveling lute, though, great tool. I use mine all the time, and you'll see that in action a little bit later on. Watering, I'm sure we've all got sprinklers. Really important we get water on after the lawn renovation, so make sure you've got a decent sprinkler. Doesn't matter which one, whatever your preference is. So step 2 then, this is where we get into the good stuff now, the scarifying. So what is scarifying? Scarifying basically is where you remove thatch and moss and you're preparing the lawn for seeding. It allows nutrients to get through that thatch layer into the soil. And it is about healthy soil, don't forget. It allows air to move around the crown of the plant, and that can help prevent disease and help dry the plant out. And then it also removes weed grasses and improves the aesthetic of the lawn. Horrible, horrible weed grasses, woody stems, they don't look good, they lack colour. So lawn, if you walk on your lawn and it feels bouncy, that's usually a good indicator that you've got thatch, a really deep thatch layer. So if it feels bouncy underfoot, think about scarifying it. But it's also a pale diluted colour can mean that you need to scarify as well. And don't forget, different grasses accumulate thatch at different rates. So just because your neighbour with 100% bent golf green type lawn is scarifying every 3 weeks and verticutting doesn't mean you have to. So different grasses accumulate thatch at different levels, different rates.
We've got a question from Arvind Rich. Do you have to cut the lawn before scarifying?
Yeah, so do you know what, Arvind, great point. Yes, you do. Now, there's a golden rule to mowing the lawn, and that is that you never cut more than 1/3 of the blade. Generally what happens is you want to get this lawn as short as possible. You can afford to be brutal because you're about to give it some real spa day treatment. So you want to put your mower on the lowest possible setting before you scarify it. Now what you might want to do is the weeks leading up to scarifying, you drop your height of the cut gradually so you're on the lowest level, and ideally you want to scalp that lawn. That will allow the scarifier to access that thatch really well. Your lawn after this process will look terrible, and we'll talk about that a bit later, but it will spring back. So it is important. Great question. Get it nice and low, and that's why I prefer the rotary mower in the lead up. Great question. So scarifying then, by hand, you can get one of these scarifying rakes. Again, if it's a small lawn, great option. Quite tiring, so you know, maybe a few cups of tea while you do that. Also really great for getting into corners where the big heavy machinery can't go, and actually a great tool for the shed because you can create lovely seed beds for it throughout the year if you need to do patch seeding. It is hard work, great for small lawns, gets into the corners. It's almost like I've read this presentation before. Great for seed beds. Right, so this is the next stage now. We're getting into the home scarifiers. This is a Hyundai plug-in electric scarifier. You'll see our review videos on there. And what's great about these is you have a springtime cassette that you can fit in, so you can use it regularly throughout the year to control your thatch, not just rip it out at lawn renovation time. You can get battery powered ones as well. We're soon getting a Hyundai battery powered one. They're sending us one to have a look at, so we'll be testing that soon. Perfect for domestic use and regular use, and very cost effective. I want to say roughly 150 quid will get you a really nice electric scarifier. The petrol option, this is you go in all out, 80 quid to hire it. Don't buy it. You're looking at, I don't know, 2 grand for one of these. It's an absolute beast. It's designed to be used every day. Go to your hire centre, or again, maybe a cricket and bowls club. But it's great for really big lawns or really intense scarifying. It's robust and heavy, relatively cheap to hire. but everyone wants to hire at the same time. So you've got nice soft ground, the sun's just come out, everyone's out to renovate their lawns, you can't get hold of it from your local shop. So that is one of the downsides. So I've created the 4Ds of Scarifying, and this will help you kind of figure out how you need to scarify. And the 4Ds of Scarifying is depth, direction, disposal, and despair. And it doesn't matter how many times you've done it, you hit all 4 of those stages every single time. So in terms of the depth, you want to set the depth of the scarifier to make lines in the soil. There's a reason for this. When the tines dig down into the soil, you can see the lines in the soil there. That gives the seed somewhere to go, and it drops down into that soil and can really improve the seed soil contact. And then eventually those holes, those lines will close up and you've enveloped the seed. Also, you want to make sure you're getting down into the soil, so you are going hard enough. A lot of people with Scarifying will just tickle the top. You want to go deep. You want to go brutal. Remember, we're going big. This is a lawn renovation. All different machines, some of them just a winder, some of them are like a little height adjuster clunk. So just set it to what you think, run it for a couple of meters, get down on your hands and knees and inspect it. If you haven't got down into the soil, lower it more and go again. It depends on the weight of the machine, the length of your grass, a load of different things. So I can't give you a definitive setting, but just ensure that you're putting lines into the soil. If you've got it right, the Scarifier, certainly the home versions, will almost want to run away from you as the tines grip the floor and kind of pull you forward. Just offer a little bit of resistance to allow the tines to claw through the grass. There's loads of questions coming in. This is brilliant. We will get around to answering them all for sure. So please, keep them coming in. Direction is the second D. You want to complete 2 passes of a Scarifier,
I'll just let Rich
ground instead of up.
Is that you freezing or me freezing? I think it might be.
I'm okay. Yeah. If anyone gives us a thumbs up if we're still working, all right, can people still see us?
You sound okay now. There was just a little blip on
my side. Yeah, we got thumbs up here on the screen.
Cool.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So
I'm glad
now.
And everyone's paying attention and no one's fallen asleep yet, which is remarkable. Fantastic. So you want to go in 2 different directions. The first direction in a different direction to what you would normally mow, just to make sure we're not napping the grass and we're actually going to stand that grass up. The next pass you do, the second pass, you see that black line that's on the screen now. We want that to be at about 30-degree angle. Certainly don't cross it like that. That's just too harsh for the lawn to deal with. So if you go at a 30-degree angle, that's all you need to do. And moving into disposal, I can't impress upon you enough, if you've never done it before, how much thatch you're going to pull out. I do my lawn every year, and every time I look and go, where did all that come from? And your lawn really looks no different. That is what the thatch is. It's all that dead organic matter that's in the soil level that is being pulled out. So collect all that thatch using a plastic tine rake. My new favourite toy is a lawn sweeper. You'll see that in one of our lawn reno videos. Dan brought a lawn sweeper, and I was a bit, that's old school. We just blow it. It's a remarkable machine, and actually you'll see a video in a minute of using it. A blower's always good, but there will be a lot. Use your black bags, take it to the tip. Use a builder's bag if you've got one. If you use your kind of green waste bins, we put garden waste, I think they're brown in some counties. Don't expect it all to fit into there, especially if you've been reducing the height of your mow, the height of cut for the last few weeks. You're going to produce a lot of green matter to get off here. If you're a composter, yes, you can compost it, but there'll be so much green. Make sure you've got enough brown material to put in with it. And when you've raked it all up, you can use that rotary mower on the lowest setting again, because it sucks up all that little bit of thatch that's left on top. And the added benefit of cutting the grass is actually when you're scarifying it, it'll stand the sward up again. So when you cut it, you're getting a really nice low cut.
A couple of questions, Rich.
Yeah.
One was from Demantry. Apologies if I've butchered your name there. It's really small on my screen. It says, does Scarify not remove the present grass?
So it will pull some of the grass out. It's inevitable you'll see some green in there. If it does, it's not really a problem because we're going to put some new fresh seed down. The grass it tends to pull out is the bigger, thicker, woodier stemmed grass, which generally is the weed grasses or the older grass. So you're getting rid of the ugly stuff and getting the much nicer, newer seed in.
And another one from Lee. He asked a question, when you drop the level, and it's referring to like mowing before scarifying, how long in days wise between the cuts? So I'm assuming that is like we'll go into cutting a little bit later on.
Yeah, got it. So I would go every other day. And if you've got a cylinder mower, you generally can stepless change. You just turn it half a turn every time down, and that's fine. But if you're on a rotary, generally you have like a stepped change. Just give it every other day as you bring it down. That's absolutely fine. A good 2-week run up of mowing is going to be absolutely ideal. We good?
Yeah, there's one more.
Yeah.
It's a question about aerating. When aerating, should it punch a hole or be hollow so that it removes some soil? My lawn is quite compacted.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about aerating in a couple of sections and the difference between hollow and solid tine aerating. For lawn renovation, hollow tine every single time, and I'll explain why. Generally throughout the year, when you're just trying to leave compaction, solid tine. Because with hollow tine, we're trying to get seed and soil and fertilizer into basically these little plant pots that we're creating. So we'll go for hollow tine aerating for lawn renovations. Great, good questions. Nothing I can't answer yet. There's a challenge for you. Despair. So this is the section that everybody, no matter how professional, how many times you've done it, you look at the lawn like that and you go, my God, look at the bare patches. Look at the where there's no seed, there's no grass whatsoever. It will look bare. Don't panic. Trust the process. And now you can see what you're actually working with. It will lack colour because we've dumped the height of cut relatively quickly. Trust the process. This isn't our process. This is tried and tested over many years of process. So I've got a quick video for you here just to have a look at. This is going to be a couple of minutes. And this is us scarifying one of our lawns. And you can see how it's pulling up. The lawn doesn't look anything like there's anything wrong with it. But look at all the thatch.
So you can see there we've used the Cayman. It's literally taken us, that's quicker than cutting the lawn, that was literally 5 minutes. The benefit again of a petrol one is I don't have to set it so deep, and I have just been able to like spring across the top. And you can see my lawn was looking great an hour ago. Now look at it covered in thatch. But don't worry, because look at all this thatch. You can see all the straw coloured stuff. Yes, there's a bit of green in there, don't worry about that. But all the straw coloured, I can see some of the root systems that have come up. Some of this annual meadow grass, really thick woody stems. You don't want that in your lawn. Well, not the end of the world, but I don't want it in my lawn, so that's all come up. So you can just see how much has come up. And once I've cleared all this thatch, again, it'll look fairly green again, so don't panic at this stage. So Dan's there with the Gardena spreader, and I'm here with the traditional rake. Already, I feel like I've picked the worst option, but traditionally you would just rake it up. I like to rake it into little windrows, come in like this way, then I'd come back and rake this way, and then I get a nice little windrow, and then I can come back and collect it. But I feel like I'm not even going to bother actually. I didn't think that Gardena rake was going to work particularly well, but I must say I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm going to give up. Let's I will get the Cobra mower out and mow behind Dan.
You can see that, yeah. Well, yeah, someone's just having a little laugh there. I didn't expect it to work as well as it did. It's now my new favourite toy. And you can see there, we used the sweeper, and then I went over it with the rotary mower at the end. And just look at that lawn. Even though we've scarified it, you saw how much thatch we took out of that lawn. It's like nothing's been removed when you look at it now. So that shows that what Scarifying actually does, it removes all the stuff you don't need in your lawn anyway. Right then, moving into aeration. I know we've just had a good question in on aeration. Let's see if this gets covered while I'm here. The general principle of aeration here is that when you have compacted soils, whether that's from a lot of rain, whether that's from foot traffic, whatever it might be, what you get is a really dense soil profile, and the roots struggle to penetrate that dense soil. Remember, roots grow in the gap between the soil, not the soil itself. So it's important that we introduce air and fissures and room for the roots to move. So what we do is we come along and we end up punching these holes. And these holes go straight through the thatch layer down into the soil, and they allow oxygen to get down so we don't get that anaerobic reaction occurring with the soil microbes. So we let hydrogen sulfide gas out. It allows the water to penetrate deeper, and then it allows the nutrients to get down into the soil as well. Now that would be true, that would be the same for hollow tine or solid tine. Now just to explain hollow and solid tine basically takes a plug out of the lawn and leaves it on the lawn surface. A solid tine is basically like a garden fork which goes in. So what you'll end up with at the end is root systems which are much deeper than they appear to start with, that are much denser, and with swords which are much thicker and have much more vigour. Now, when we talk about lawn renovation aerating, we use hollow tines to remove a large plug. That can be better for compaction because you're allowing the soil then to move laterally as well as up. So hollow tines are really great for a really compacted lawn. What you do then is you see all the little red dots. That's when we've just cast all of our seed onto the lawn. And some of it, a lot of it, has fallen down into these little plant pots that we've created. We then throw in the blue bits, which are our fertiliser or biostimulant. We then throw our topsoil on top, which goes down and wraps it all up nicely. And we get really great seed and soil contact. So then you'll see all that seed starts to germinate. You get more rooting, and then you get new grass sprouting. Creates a much denser lawn. So definitely hollow tine aerating for lawn renovation. Now, if you hire your hollow tine aerator, it's only a spanner, like a 13mm spanner, and you can interchange solid and hollow tines. We all good there?
Yeah, there was somebody just had a problem. They can see us, but they can't see the actual slides. I don't know if that's everybody or just one person. If you, yeah, I don't know whether it's worth just unsharing and sharing again the slides.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
All right, just to see if it.
Oh yeah. Arvin says we're fine. I'm okay.
Everybody else okay. Yeah. So it might be that. So I just have to leave and rejoin if you can. Okay, and then there's a couple of questions. I don't know where these. Okay, let's look at the tech issue. Do you pick up the cores afterwards?
Say again, sorry.
Do you
pick up the cores afterwards?
Do you pick up the cores afterwards? Yeah.
Great question, really regular one. I should have mentioned that really. Yeah. So you've got two options. Generally, you tend to pick up the cores, and the reason for that is because you're about to be walking over it with your fertiliser spreading, seed spreading, top dressing. So it just keeps the surface cleaner. Now, if you're not going to top dress, I don't recommend not top dressing. But if you're not going to top dress, you can leave the sun and the wind to dry those cores and then just drag mat them in. It's basically just free topsoil ultimately. They tend to get collected up just because it keeps a cleaner working surface. You can collect them again with blow of the lawn sweepers and with a rotary mower if you don't mind ruining your blade on it. I've got an old blade I leave in for collecting cores up, but I tend to collect the cores up all the time. What's an extra half hour's hard work? It just saves another gym visit. So the hollow tines are what we'll be using for lawn renovations. And the thing about hollow tine then, so this is why the timing is critical. If you've got a really hard, dry lawn, that machine's going to struggle to get in to any decent depth as well. So you need to make sure the soil is still relatively soft, which is why I think spring lawn renovations are probably more popular for home lawn care. We're looking at just a reminder. Yeah,
there was just a question on the holes, basically on the hollow tine holes.
Yeah.
So he says, I have an automatic mower with a wire in the grass. I'm guessing there's a robot mower. How deep do the holes go?
Yeah, so
And
the
how
hollow
deep should I
tines are
go?
going to go in. Yeah, the hollow tines and the solid tines, they're going to go in. Well, let's see. I could whip me ruler. That's going to go in about 1.5 inches. What you'll find, certainly with the machine you see on screen there, there's a little release that allows the tines to drop down, and there's like a double release, so you can release it once, it'll only go so far, or you can release it more and it will go all the way, but they're still only going in kind of 1.5 inches, really. Yeah.
And if
Yeah,
you know where the wire is, then it might be worth doing a bit more of a manual, like the manual aerator that we showed earlier on, because it just gives you a little bit more control and not let the mechanical get too close to that wire, so give it a bit of a wide berth.
Yeah, definitely going manual around that cable. Yeah, nice. So that's the hollow tine. That is a heavy machine. Won't fit into many cars. If you've got like an SUV, you'll squeeze it in. But I'd recommend, if you're going to hire that, get the hire company to deliver it as well. And that is your manual option. Yeah, that is your manual option that Dan was just talking about using around the outside, where you can't get the machine in, or where you might have cables from your robot mowers. Excellent. Wonder what robot mower you've got. Let us know. We're looking to buy one this year, so we're quite going to be doing a few tests, I reckon. So this is Dan using the aerator. You can see at the bottom here how they're rapidly punching holes in the floor, and you can see the holes that it's leaving behind. Don't turn too tight with a tine aerator. You think there's always a tine in the floor, so give it a big wide berth. But you can see, sorry, that's my dodgy camera work, but you can see those tines punching into the floor. Right, so we've just finished the hollow tine, and I want to show you now the kind of cores that we're taking out there. What's that, kind of 1 inch long? And you can see we've got that soil is so compacted in there, it's really dense, and you can see the roots, they're small and weak, and this is why we're hollow tining. So what we're going to find now is, because this lawn is so compacted, now we've taken some of the soil from the surface, the soil, what's left, can move laterally into those gaps and just relieve the compaction. That's going to mean we get much better root development. The roots are going to go deeper. We're going to get gas exchange down in those roots. The fertiliser, the seed, everything now can get down into the bottom of these plant pots, and that will be the start of this new rejuvenated lawn. So there you go. That was one of the last times we used lawn reno. I think that I want to say that was last spring, actually. And there's a poll just come up, actually. Which parts of lawn care are you least knowledgeable about? Scarifying, aerating, seeding, top dressing, or indeed the whole process? Yeah, let us know what you think on that one. I'm just going to put mine in there. Yeah, there we go. Right, so that is what you'd expect. That almost answers the question as well about how deep. You saw how that core came out. We were looking about an inch and a bit.
The other option that we touched upon last week was one of these manual hollow tine aerators. Again, it's another simple matter that you just want to push straight down, wiggle it up and out, and you produce these lovely cores that, as you lift them out, the soil you're pushing into will lift the cores out of here. And the benefit of that is you're actually removing some soil from the surface, and that allows the grass and the soil structure to move into that space, relieving the compaction, certainly of the top 4 inches or so. The other option, as we mentioned, is to actually hire your hollow tine aerator. You've seen some videos of us last year using that in an autumn lawn renovation. The quickest by far, but if you've got a garden this size, kind of 200 square meters, you'll have that done in around about 5 minutes. So worth what we're doing this year is a few of us on the street are all clubbing in to get the hollow tine aerator, and we'll do each other's lawns, because it will still only take probably the best part of an hour. So if you can get a group of you to go do it, by far the most efficient way.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favourite things, actually. That once the lawn wars start, there's no stopping it on the street. And actually, sometimes you're better getting together, a few of you, hiring a machine. Maybe you hire it for an entire week if the weather's a little bit unsure, and then you can just split the bill. You get it delivered, help each other out. It's an absolutely brilliant way to get the whole street looking brilliant. So we're moving out of aeration. I know a lot of you just said, actually, 43% of you are saying that aerating is the area that you know least about. Hopefully, we've learned a few things. Oh, we're balancing up a bit now. Someone's come into the whole process. So hopefully you've learned a little bit there. Any questions I haven't answered on aeration, get them in. yeah, get them in and we'll make sure they get answered. If I don't cover them in this webinar, I'll make sure I answer directly afterwards. So moving into fertilising. Now, fertilising and seeding are very, very similar. But fertilisers, any fertiliser you buy has nitrogen, it has phosphorus, and it has potassium, NPK, and you'll see that labelled on the bag. It'll say something like a 15-1-15. That's relating to 15% nitrogen, 1% phosphorus, 15% potassium, for example. Now, nitrogen is responsible for everything above the ground and all the top growth. Okay, so high nitrogen means you're going to get good growth. Phosphorus is responsible for everything below the ground. Okay, so all the root development. Whereas potassium will help with disease resistance, also helps with using moisture more effectively. That's kind of like a side product, but mainly disease resistance. The way to remember that is nitrogen up, phosphorus down, potassium all around. So up, down, all around. So when we come to lawn renovation, it's important that we have high phosphorus. Not too important about nitrogen. The seed has a good amount of nitrogen in it to start to germinate, and the potassium is going to come a bit later, but phosphorus is the key nutrient for lawn renovation. So don't go using a high nitrogen, low phosphorus fertilizer. That will not do. So phosphorus will improve your germination rate. You put down 100% of seed. The more phosphorus you have to a certain point, the more of that seed will germinate effectively. It will improve the germination success. Use pre-seed fertilizer. It's usually labeled pre-seed fertilizer. Our product is Roots and Shoots. It's designed specifically for lawn renovations and pre-seed and pre-turfing applications. You will get stronger roots. As explained, the phosphorus will help those roots develop deeper, thicker, and more dense. Yeah. You will get stronger shoots as well, because the roots developing quickly allows it to pull the nutrients, all those macronutrients as well, from the soil and bring them up into the plant. If you use too much nitrogen, the sword will grow too quick and it will struggle to maintain itself. And the absolute golden bullet here, the little secret sauce, is using biostimulants. The one we've gone for in our packages, as I mentioned earlier, is Sea of Green seaweed meal, straight from the Atlantic Ocean. It goes down just like a fertilizer, and it goes down into those cores and helps maintain a nice soil structure, and it makes the soil more fertile. Brilliant product. Smells just like the seaside too. Spreaders, we covered these earlier. The hand Cresco spreader, brilliant for small lawns. You get good control in intricate areas because it's blanked off on one side, and you can adjust the sowing rate as well. The bucket spreader, better for bigger lawns, anything over kind of 200 square meters, I would say, holds much larger volumes. Now the wheels and the turntable are linked via a gear, so the faster you walk, the faster the turntable spins. You control the flow by a sliding gate which opens the gap at the bottom, allowing the fertilizer to fall through. And as I said, the drop spreader for fertilizer, we're not keen on those, but they can be absolutely fine for seed and your soil top dressing. Those are your three options. So how to fertilise then? Up to 1 week before or 1 week after your lawn renovation is when you can put down your high phosphorus pre-seed fertiliser. Now I always go at the same time. One, I've got enough to think about, and if I put my pre-seed fert down a week before as I'm lowering the height of cut, especially if I'm using a rotary mower, I could just draw it all up and throw it in the bin, so I don't want to do that. I do it at the same time while I've got all the kit out and I stick to my process. You're going in at 35 grams per square metre. Simple math that I like, roughly 1 kilo per 30 metres squared. All of our products are sold in 1 kilo bags or 1 kilo denominations, so you get the exact amount. So if you ordered it, your lawn was 150 square metres, you'd get the exact amount. So you ain't got to weigh it out. You just put it in the hopper and spread it. You put half of the fertiliser into the hopper and you spread in one direction. So that's that yellow line, up and down, nice and even. You'll then put the second half, the second amount of your fertiliser in the hopper, and you'll spread in the other direction. Don't be tempted to do it all in one go. You'll run out halfway, you will finish the run and you'll have loads of that. This is a really good way to ensure an even distribution. But at the same time, don't get too held up about it. You're having a nice broadcast from your fertilizer spreader, so that helps alleviate some of these issues. So half of it in, up and down the yellow line, put the other half in and across the red line. Here's a quick video for you.
So each one of your packs is 1 kilo, and we've sent you the exact amount you need to put over your entire lawn area. And for me, in this garden, it's 5 kilos. So what I'm going to do is put 2.5 kilos, that's 2.5 bags, in my Cresco 1 hand spreader hopper. And then I'm going to do the entire garden in one direction. Then I'm going to put the remaining 2.5 kilos back in the hopper, and then do the garden in the other direction. Best practice, you always spread in 2 different directions. My Cresco spreader is going to be set on to number 2. I find with the pace I walk, which is quite slow, that's just a really nice way to get an even coverage. A few things to note: don't use a drop spreader that you'd use for topsoil and seed, because that's just going to drop the fertiliser straight down, and you're going to run a really high risk there of actually burning your turf. So let's get it in the hopper. Okay, so 2.5 kilos in the hopper. I'm going to go up and down to start with, looking at how wide it's casting. I'm going to spin, make sure I keep spinning this consistently as well. Let's go. So now I've gone up and down, we're going to head in the other direction.
There we go. So this shows how simple the process is of spreading fert, and it's exactly the same for seed as well. So once you're used to one process, it's just rinse and repeat. So moving into step 5, seeding. I know we're kind of going on a bit here. We're over the time, but it's because you're asking some great questions and I won't stop talking. But I will try and, I'm not going to rush through this. I'm going to give you all the information that you need. So into seeding then. Key thing, why do we need to seed? A lot of people scarify and then go, no, it's all right, I don't want to seed, it's expensive. It is. Look, it is. We covered this earlier. But you need to seed because when you scarify, you remove all the weak grasses and you create all these bare patches. Good grass coverage can prevent other issues like weeds and weed grasses coming into the lawn. You can also prevent moss ingressing if you have a really dense lawn, but don't forget you still need to address that causation factor of compacted soils, i.e. you need to have it aerated. It produces a much better aesthetic. New young grass, first year, second year grass always looks better. And then grass naturally dies anyway and it needs replacing. If you don't replace it, nature will, and it will be weeds and annual meadow grass and horrible stuff that doesn't look great. Overseed your lawn, 1 kilo per 30 square meters, same as the fertilizer rate. If you're going onto bare areas or a completely new lawn, 1 kilo for every 20 square meters. Don't be fooled into thinking the more seed I put down, the better my lawn will look. It might do for a very short amount of time, but you're going to encourage disease. We still need to have air movement around the plant and around the crown. And if you cram it in with too much grass, it's going to be fighting for the same nutrition. You're going to have to feed it more and you're going to encourage disease as it gets really warm and moist at the crown area. So don't overseed. How to choose your seed. If you go there, you will see loads of different grass types. Don't worry about them all. There are 3 you want to be aware of. And actually, this is only a bit of background information. Generally, you find ryegrass, you find fescues, and you find bent grass. And yes, there are different versions, cultivars of each one of those. But if you're looking at ryegrass, it got a really bad rap. Years ago, it was an ugly grass. It was a big fat sword, and it was just didn't have much colour and much vigour. But it's really been refined recently now, so much so that it is the exclusive grass for cricket wickets because of how hard wearing it is. So if you've got a family lawn, a high percentage of ryegrass in your mix will mean it's really resistant to wear. Great for high traffic areas, and it really binds the soils and is really great at binding other grasses as well. So it produces a much better family focused lawn. Fescue grasses, kind of the bulk really of the domestic lawn care, really, really fine swords, which produces this lovely aesthetic, and they hold a great colour. You'll get a really dense lawn with fescues, and then some of the fescues as well actually creep, and they will move into bare areas and spread via rhizomaceous growth just under the surface. And then if you get looking at bent grass, this is kind of like a different thing altogether. It is ultra fine. Those of you who play golf will be playing on bent grass greens most of the time. It likes, stroke, must be cut short. It is a really hungry grass. You need to feed it a lot. It is really high maintenance. It's really susceptible to disease, but it does produce the best aesthetic. So what you will generally find is any seed you buy will be a mix of 2 or 3 of those, sometimes a few other grasses as well. So the only reason you need to be aware of that is what grass seed do you want? So what are you looking for from your lawn? That lawn you see behind me, by the way, that is Family First lawn seed. That is a family lawn. It's robust. It's got 55% rye, 45% fescue. It's hard wearing, and people hear that and go, oh, I want it to look great. I think, to be fair, it looks great. You know, it doesn't mean that you can't get the stripes and you can't have the vigor. So that is our Family First seed. If you want to take it a step further, and you've got to keep off the grass sign that you present proudly on your front lawn, then Envy Law seed is the one for you. 50% rye, 45% fescue, but 5% bent grass. That doesn't sound a lot, but when you see the bent grass seeds, they are tiny compared to the normal rye and fescue seeds. So there's actually a lot more of them in there. So you're going to get that beautiful aesthetic, but because we're mixing it with rye and fescues, you're going to get that bit of hard wearing, bit of disease resistance. But you will have to maintain that lawn a little bit more, be more generous with your aerating throughout the year, with your verticutting and scarifying. So those are the 2 seed options really. How to seed, you've seen all this before. This is exactly the same as fertilising. You're going to go up and down the garden with half of your seed. You're then going to go across the garden with the other half of your seed. The only difference this time is you want to drag a broom or a brush or a drag mat or something just to get that seed that's resting on the sward of the existing grass lying flat on the soil, or even in the holes. The more seed soil contact we can create, the better your germination rate will be. Make sure your soil temperature is above 8 degrees. Not an issue in the autumn, but actually when we're looking at spring lawn renovations, like today you go, it's beautiful out there, it's too cold still. Get yourself Amazon, get a soil temperature monitor. They're about, I don't know, 15 quid. Chuck it in and make sure we're going to not just be at 8 degrees soil temperature, which is very different to air temperature, but we're going to stay above 8 degrees as well. Don't go too early. There's nothing wrong with waiting a few extra weeks. Those are the spreaders. You can use any of those this time. All brilliant. So basically you have to fertilise before seeding. You can fertilise before seeding or immediately after. Those 2 processes are interchangeable. As long as you're doing them on the day of the renovation, you're doing them right there. It doesn't really matter. Just don't do them kind of days or weeks apart. They're both, ultimately, the seed and the soil are both going down into the same hole. It doesn't matter in which order they go down. So you can do whatever you put your hand on first.
You mentioned the 8 degree soil temperature. We had a question from Martin, basically saying, I want to start doing this now. It did point out that it's all about the soil temperature. So the birds will eat all your seed.
Yeah. So a lot of people go early, and again, I'm looking outside. I want to go and cut my grass, but I know it's frosting again tonight, so I'm going to resist. Just be a little bit more patient. We wouldn't recommend any time before April. And that's only if we're having a warm April. Soil temperatures are absolutely key to good germination. Just let us know. I wonder why you want to do it now. Is it you just got an itch to scratch, or you got a party that you're planning? Because there's a few things you can do to reduce that germination period. I won't go into it here because we're already running over, but on our YouTube channel we've got a video about pre-germinating seed where we soak it in water, and then when we go out it germinates in 4 days time. So go and have a gander at that one, and then let us know how we can help you get that lawn ready for something that it sounds like you got planning. Top dressing, the bit that people miss out, it's another expense for the product, yes, but this is the final stage of like hard work and labour, the last bit you're going to do on lawn reno day, and it is essential. So why are we going to top dress? It provides a nice seed bed and it improves that seed soil contact, which is key. It's going to add organic matter to your lawn with good amount of nutrition in it, and it will also help level out your lawn. Now, level out your lawn or smooth out lumps and bumps, two slightly different things. Even if your lawn is nice and level, when you run the mower over, you'll feel a little bit of vibration. That's all these little bumps in. It will just fill in those gaps very nicely. And it will also improve drainage. I know somebody mentioned earlier about having a really boggy lawn, I think.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Martin
guess.
mentioned it. He said, my garden gets waterlogged during the winter, but it's quite dry in the summer. I was thinking of the top dressing with a 70-30 sand topsoil mix. Is this a good idea to do?
So it's the problem you come up with, wet in the winter, dry in the summer, is everyone, loads of people have that issue. So if you've got a heavy clay soil, which it sounds like, because it sounds like what's happening is it's not draining in the winter, but it's drying out and cracking almost in the summer. So a heavy clay soil. So I would be going 70-30 is a brilliant go-to option for top dressing. What you need to be putting down is the seaweed. So the seaweed will go down into those holes at lawn renovation time. Put it down the same time as you fertilise, and that seaweed will help aerate that clay soil. It'll help it drain, but also retain moisture in the summer. Another way to retain moisture on that lawn in the summer is with one of the wetting agents. The Satagran wetting agent we have, it's wrapped in a polymer coating, so it allows the water to penetrate the surface, but also holds water in the zeolite carrier itself. So it's very much about your treatment plan. If you are aerating, I'll definitely go for that 70-30 mix you're thinking about. That is a really good option. For those of you who have a perpetually wet and boggy lawn, heavy clay soil, then you could go with a full sand mix, so no organic matter whatsoever. That will allow the water to pass down, certainly off the top few inches of that soil surface. Which top dressing? So generally with top dressings, you've got a choice to make. At one end of the spectrum over here, you have products that are brilliant for leveling lawns that are bumpy and lumpy and have dips and hollows, but they're really, really, really bad at holding any kind of nutrition. Think about your golf green. Lovely, smooth, the ball rolls over it brilliantly, but because it's sand-based, they're treating it all the time, usually with foliar liquid mixes as well. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, you've got products which are really terrible at levelling, like compost. Just disappears, disintegrates, and it's gone, but actually has loads of organic matter, so holds nutrients really well. So that's where you have to decide which product you're using. Sand on the left-hand side, brilliant for levelling out. So yeah, brilliant for leveling out. It is cheaper than the other products, but it doesn't hold the nutrients, but it will improve your drainage. In the middle there, like we just spoke about, that sand soil mix, it's a 70-30 or an 80-20 generally. That means 70% sand, 30% soil, organic matter. That is the go-to. If you're not sure, that's the one you want to use. It's the one I use all the time as well. And then on the right hand side, if you've got a lovely flat lawn, you can just use compost. It's terrible for leveling, but it does add loads of nutrition to the lawn. It will kind of just disappear and go, but it is super light and easy to spread. Like really, really good option if you do have a nice level lawn.
Downside to compost, though, you
can
get all
of how
the
to top dress, if you've got some big dips and hollows to address. Yes, you do. Compost comes with all the twigs and yeah, so the compost, you're right, Dan, it comes with all the kind of twigs and all those bits in it. I'm going to show you a tool in a minute you can use to make that. So do all the leveling first. So don't seed and you do your aerating and scarifying, but don't seed if you're then going to put 4 inches of topsoil into a hollow, because the seed only needs to be 2 to 3 mil down. Okay, so get your levels done. So you'd scarify, aerate, then get your levels sorted, then seed, fertilise, and put a final top dress on. Cast evenly over the entire lawn area, either with a spreader's good, or just make piles with a wheelbarrow and then cast it out with a shovel, which I'll show you in a second. Use a drag brush, drag mat or lawn loop to level that soil out and just to drag it into the holes. And then you want to go for roughly a 5mm coverage. A really good kind of mass, simple mass here is 2 kilos per square metre is a light dressing. 4 kilos is where I tend to sit for just a good medium dressing, or a really heavy dressing is 6 kilos per square metre. That could help you calculate. You can buy it in 25 kilo bags, which helps you just move it around the lawn, or you can buy it for a little bit cheaper per unit on a 750 kilo ton bag.
So ultimately the job here is to ferry it from the drive to the front in the wheelbarrow. I'm just going to make loads of piles all over, just big barrow piles, probably 30 or 40 piles. And eventually when I've got them all and they're all in, it's just a simple matter of grabbing it and sending it across the lawn. After that we'll loot it up.
So is that question just coming about doing it over a period of time, Dan?
So it was initially, it was like, we're wanting to level, is there any depth that you need to go? And then basically, can you add it over the course of a month, he says. So I guess that means adding a little bit at a time on top of the established grass, so it can build it up.
Yeah, so if you use something like sand soil, like a root zone, and you go too deep, it will naturally sink again over time. So you only really want to go kind of, what you do is put like 2 or 3 centimeters in, heel it down, foot it in to compact it a bit, and then put a bit more in it, a bit more. If you're going to do it over a period of time to level your lawn, yes, but immediately after renovation, while the new seed is just germinating, wait until your lawn is fully established, then you can start to add your soil over time. That is generally a good way to do it, yeah. Tools for top spreading. This is that Dan said about getting all those little twigs and bits in the compost. These green cages are brilliant. You can open the cage, put your compost in it, and then you just walk it, and as it rotates, it puts a lovely even amount of compost in, but keeps all the twigs and lumps in the barrel. So then you can just empty out at the end. That is really, really good option if you're spreading compost. Doesn't work with the others, it just falls straight out. Drop spreader, absolutely fine. And again, you got a local bowls club or cricket club that do end of season renovations. You may be lucky enough to find they've got something like this Barrowman. That's about 1,500 quid's worth to buy, but you can get probably 20 kilos in each time, and it comes out on this conveyor belt and just drops it straight down. Beautiful piece of kit. Bit of overkill unless you've got a massive lawn or you're putting an awful lot of topsoil down. But again, find your cricket club and ask them if you can borrow it for 30 quid. I'm sure there's always happy to get money into the coffers.
Hi John, thanks for the question, mate. It's a good one as well. A lot of people have asked it. This rake looking thing is actually called Lute, L-U-T-E that is. It's got a really long handle, kind of kinked at the end. Benefit of that is I can get a really shallow angle, so when I'm pushing on it, it doesn't actually take an awful lot of effort to push it and glide it across the land, across the turf. If it was steep, obviously you'd be pushing more down, so it has a really long handle. And then you've got this box section of metal down here, and the whole purpose of this is that it helps you level the turf out. So you can see on top you've got these box sections where the topsoil or sand will sit in between. You'll push it back and forth and it will level it out. This one's about 36 centimetres wide. You can get them much bigger than this, but these will set you back around about £100. One of those tools I would highly recommend getting, putting in your garage for patch repair and general garden levelling. Thanks for the question.
So Lee, sorry, I just saw your addition to that question and you were talking about the top dressing specifically over a period of time. No, you want to do that as soon as you've got to the end of this lawn renovation. If you do it a few days later, you're walking on newly sprouted, newly shooted grass with very weak roots at this time, and then you're walking over it casting and then leveling and dragging in. You're then just going to pull some of those grass roots up. What's more, by putting the topsoil on, that's our key to improving the kind of seed soil contact. So you'll get better germination rate because you've put it down at that time, and you want to kind of fill those holes that we saw in that diagram early on. So if you've got the energy, day after, absolutely fine if you want to spread this over a couple of days, but as soon after as possible. Right then, on the home straight. Here we go. Everyone's still here as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there is just a couple of questions about protecting the seeds from birds.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to protect seed from birds?
Yeah. So it's a common one. You will lose some seed to birds. You can buy fleeces to cover over. The problem with fleeces, of course, is that you need to keep the seed wet and you're watering every day. So be prepared to remove the fleece water and put it back ideally, because what you don't want to do is be too heavy-handed with your watering. Some fleeces you can water through, but then the soil can get a bit sticky. So you can use fleeces. CDs on sticks spinning around. Hopefully the neighbour's got a cat. The only time I've ever wished there's a cat next door is during lawn renovation season. The birds will take some. I find that the fleeces, to be honest with you, a little bit more hassle than normal. I would just leave the bird feeder nice and full and make it really easy for them, to be honest, except you're going to lose some seed to the birds.
Old groundsman that taught us how to do cricket pitches, but 25 plus years ago, he used to chuck a couple of handfuls of seed on top so that the birds would take that seed and not the stuff underneath the topsoil.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know whether it worked.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably just
well, he'd been doing
it the seed.
He'd been doing it long enough, and I guess he's thinking that the seed I've took care of to actually place under the soil surface and get down there. Actually, John, just have this handful of seed over here. Again, that was on cricket pitches.
Yeah.
Fleeces can work though. Generally, what fleeces tend to do is try and keep the moisture in and keep the temperature up. That's generally what they're used for, but it can be a good option if you're willing to remove them, water and put them back. Watering, so we're into aftercare now. We're there, we're done. We're sitting down, cup of tea. The hard work's over. But this is the section that people then negate. They forget, they think the work's done, and they don't see the maximum results that they could. It's imperative that you've got a good watering program. You want to water every day for the first week. Book some leave, don't go to work from home. Whatever you need to do, like having a new puppy, make sure you're at home for this. You need to water every day for the first week. That may even be, if it's a particularly warm spring, or this is generally in the autumn, you might have to water in the morning and on the evening. Ideally, you're trying to keep the seed constantly moist. Into the second week, we can move to every other day. Okay, there's a little bit more moisture in the ground by now. You want to keep the seed and soil wet. Don't overwater. Not too much, not too little. It does sound a little bit specific, but by overwater, I mean you don't want pools of water creating, because then the seed will just lift and float away. You'll get washout. Another problem, if you have torrential rain after a lawn renovation, that can cause washout of the seed, which means you've then got to go back and kind of catch up. There's again video on YouTube of me repairing the cricket pitch last year. We did the whole lawn renovation and had torrential rain and massive washout. If you want to go and see what that looks like, use a sprinkler, whichever one you have, oscillating, rotating, really doesn't matter, but make sure you get water on. Again, another reason why spring lawn renos work better for domestic, you're more likely to have the hosepipe bans in the autumn than you are in the spring. Mowing. Now, everybody wants to get out and start mowing that grass. It will start to look a bit kind of disheveled. Like you'll have the old grass will start to grow quite quick and it will look uneven and bumpy, and you want to go out and cut it. Don't. Wait until you see the new grass has sprouted 2 leaves. Okay, generally that's where you want to be. Don't rush. You're going to do more damage by going out a couple of weeks early than you are by going out a couple of weeks late. So really be patient. Cut it high, at least 30 mil. Okay, that'll allow you to ride over the new grass and just keep the old grass trimmed. Cut it regularly, so you don't want to be removing more than 1/3 of the blade. And if you're using a rotary mower, make sure you're putting a new blade, or you've at least sharpened your blade. So it's not just snapping the sword in half, it's actually producing a nice tight cut. Cylinder mower is best for general lawn mowing all year round, though. Certainly best for post renovation. When you get into feeding, then the new grass will need nutrition as it establishes and for the entire year. A lot of people end up hitting a hard lawn renovation because they've neglected winter, treatment through the autumn and the winter. You need to keep feeding. For long-term success, you need healthy, nutritious soil, which generally is a granular treatment, not so much the liquid. Liquids have their place, but we're talking granular if you want the nutrient in the soil. And that means applying the right amount of the right type of fertiliser just at the right time. That will help you fend off lawn disease, make your lawn more resilient, and you'll have the best lawn in the street by far. And that is exactly the purpose. That is our whole aim, our whole ambition at Mowd Lawn Care, is to make sure you have the ability to produce those best lawns. What do you need to do now, apart from take a sit down because of all that information that I've just thrown at you? You need to plan your lawn renovation. If you go to mowd.uk, you can measure your lawn. We've got a lawn measuring tool. Do it from the comfort of your own chair. You can also look at our lawn care plans. If you tell us what you want, we will recommend the plan based on that. We also are selling lawn reno products now, so a pack. Everything you need that we've discussed today for materials based on the size of your lawn. And if you want to subscribe for a lawn care plan over the year, you're going to make sure that all that hard work you're putting in now stays for the entire year. And when you've got that family Barbie, you've got the kid's birthday, you've got the 50th, your lawn will look immaculate. We have, like I mentioned to start with, the best support. I'm not going to pretend we're second best. We are the best support you will find. The hours that we are accessible, we generally have somebody on our online chat when you're doing your lawn. That means weekends and in the summer on the evenings. Okay, so online chat, you go on the website, you will find one of our team on there. We've got the Facebook community, search Mowd on Facebook. We've got loads of blogs, so many videos, and I'll also be sending out to all of you one of our PDF lawn care guides. If you come to the RHS show, we'll be giving those out as well at Malvern in May time, but we will send you an electronic version of that. Get your phones out. That is a QR code. If you scan, that'll send you to our social media links and they'll all be listed so you can follow us along. That's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And finally, because all of you are still here, then we would like to extend to you an offer by way of saying thank you for your time, which is a Saturday morning. We would like to offer you a discount. If you go onto the website and enter sub 10, you will get 10% off a whole year for your lawn care plan if you choose to go with us. If you are planning a lawn renovation, then if you enter REN 10, that will give you a discount from all of our lawn renovation products. That is the seed, the fertiliser, the topsoil, even the spreaders. And don't forget, once you buy that products, you're part of the Mowd family. You've got access to us whenever you need us. Dan, are there any questions that I haven't got around to answering? And to everybody else, is there anything I haven't covered that I probably should have?
I don't think we've missed any sort of technical type questions. There was a question about that the session's being recorded and we're going to send it out. Yes, absolutely. Yes. We're going to send out the recording of the video. We're going to compile all the information and we'll send it out to you in a nice, easy to read email. It probably won't take you an hour and a half to get through there.
We're going to upload it to YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to catch it up there.
There's just a question just come in from Jack. I understand dog urine is quite high in nitrogen, which can burn the grass. Is there anything you would recommend putting down to stop burning? Is watering the area sufficient?
Yeah, and look, we had a dog. He was absolutely grand, but my lord, he used to do a number on the lawn. So the dog urine is a classic one, and you'll find it's worse in the summer than in the winter. And the reason for that is, as you've already alluded to, watering. So a really good watering program. Basically, the dog urine, it's urea, it's nitrogen based, and basically it feeds the lawn so much it just burns and dies, and then you get this ring where it's actually the grass is growing brilliantly. So actually, if the dog wheezes and you see it and you can use a watering can and water it in, that's the best thing you can do. Generally, the best way to do this, and we have a lot of questions on this, is to have a good watering program. So you're sprinkling your lawn fairly regularly, getting an inch a week into it. But then just accept that you're going to have to pull out some of the dead grass and then put some new seed and topsoil in there every now and then. And if you do that every kind of month, before you know it, that seed germinates really quick. You can even pre-germinate it if you want to. That new seed comes up and your lawn just maintains a nice aesthetic. That's the best way to do it. Regular watering. Wetting agents can help, especially in the summer, because it will allow the water to penetrate the surface, and whatever water goes on will help wash that nitrogen or urea down into the soil and away. So that is your best option, yeah.
If I wanted to stand and use the garden hose to water it in, how long wide in between should I need to do this for?
Yeah, so we're aiming for, basically I get a tuna can, which my wife hates because she doesn't like tuna, but I eat all the tuna and then I go out to the garden. I've washed it out, obviously. And once that tuna can is full, I put a sprinkler down. Once that tuna can is full, I know I've put enough water down. So I guess what you need to figure out really, you've got to look at the seed, you look at the surface and figure out if it's damp or not. Now, don't let it pool. I would kind of go back and forth over the lawn 3 or 4 times if you're hand watering, because it is a lot more concentrated. But I would, for the sake of 15 quid, recommend a sprinkler. It is just a much more even and controlled way of doing it. If you are going to get the water down, in the morning is great because it stays moister for longer, and at night is brilliant because it stays moist all night. Don't get into the habit of watering at night though, especially in the summer. It's okay while we're doing lawn reno, but it's not a good time to water at night, because then your grass stays wet and humid on the long summer nights, and you can encourage disease if you do that regularly.
Just to give a quick idea on how long it takes to water, I've got a hose which covers about 120 square meter, a sprinkler in a big rectangle. I'll put the tuna can down. It'll take about 4.5 hours with a throughput of about 12 to 14 liters per minute. So it could take a long time. So if you're standing there, you'll be standing there a long time.
Long time, and then you're likely to underwater then, because I love standing with a hose watering, but it will get boring at some point. Anything else to top off?
I think we're good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sticking with that this morning. We do hope you have brilliant lawns this year, whether you get your products from us or not. Our main concern is that you've got a lawn that can kind of compete with this. We really want to see it as well. Get on Facebook and show us your lawns. There's nothing we love more than checking out other people's gardens and seeing the development process. So everyone, thank you very much. We do hope to see you soon online at the Malvern show, or we hope to see your addresses in our next subscription run, which is happening in the next week. Thank you all. We'll see you next time. Bye from Mowd.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.